The ballroom of the Grand Meridian Hotel glittered beneath towering crystal chandeliers, every surface polished to perfection for what financial magazines had already called the most important corporate event of the decade. Nearly 200 of the world's wealthiest investors, CEOs, politicians, and media personalities gathered beneath one roof, waiting for the official signing of a historic $1 billion merger that promised to reshape an entire industry. Expensive tuxedos, designer gowns, and million-dollar watches filled the room, while photographers captured every handshake and smile. To everyone present, status meant everything. Reputation was currency, and appearances were worth more than truth. Moving quietly among the guests was a man who seemed almost invisible. Dressed in a perfectly pressed waiter's uniform, he carried a silver tray with practiced precision, offering drinks with a calm smile that never appeared forced. His name tag simply read Daniel. Most guests barely looked at him before taking a glass. A few ignored him entirely. Others spoke to him without making eye contact, as though he were part of the furniture rather than another human being. Daniel accepted every dismissive gesture with quiet dignity. Years earlier, such treatment might have hurt him. Now, it merely reminded him of something his late father had once said: character is revealed by how people treat those they believe can do nothing for them. Across the ballroom, the executives leading the billion-dollar deal basked in the spotlight. Cameras followed them from conversation to conversation. Among them stood Victor Langford, the company's ambitious chief operating officer. Charming before investors but ruthless behind closed doors, Victor believed power belonged only to those willing to humiliate others to keep it. Tonight was supposed to be the greatest triumph of his career. Once the agreement was signed, he expected to become the next CEO, and he intended to enjoy every second of the attention. As Daniel approached with a tray of vintage red wine, Victor barely glanced at him. Still speaking to several wealthy investors, he waved his hand carelessly toward the tray without checking where it was. His elbow struck a wine glass, sending it spinning into the air. Time seemed to slow as the crystal shattered against Daniel's chest, splashing dark red wine across his spotless white shirt and dripping onto the marble floor. For a heartbeat, silence filled the ballroom. Then came the laughter. Some guests covered their mouths to hide amused smiles. Others openly chuckled. A few raised their phones beneath the table, eager to record the embarrassing scene without attracting attention. Daniel stood perfectly still, wine soaking through his uniform, while broken glass glittered at his feet. Victor looked down at the stained waiter and smirked. "Unbelievable," he said loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. "Even serving drinks is too difficult these days." A ripple of laughter spread through the crowd. Daniel calmly lowered the tray, set it safely on a nearby table, and quietly apologized, even though everyone who had seen the incident knew the accident hadn't been his fault. "I'm sorry for the inconvenience, sir." Victor shook his head dramatically. "Next time, try staying out of the way." The words echoed through the ballroom, drawing even more attention. Several guests exchanged uncomfortable glances, but none dared challenge one of the evening's most powerful executives. In a room filled with influential people, almost everyone chose silence over courage. Daniel bent down to collect the broken glass, his movement steady and composed. A young waitress hurried toward him, whispering, "Sir, let me help." He offered her a reassuring smile. "It's all right. Thank you." She noticed something unusual. Despite being publicly humiliated, Daniel showed no anger, no embarrassment, and no desire for revenge. It was almost as if he had expected this moment. Just then, the banquet manager rushed over, his face pale with panic. Without asking what had happened, he immediately turned toward Daniel. "What have you done? Tonight is the biggest event this hotel has ever hosted." Daniel remained calm. "It was an accident." Before he could explain further, Victor interrupted. "I think your staff needs better training. If this is your standard of service, perhaps our company should reconsider future events here." The manager's face turned even whiter. I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Langford. Then he looked at Daniel with frustration. Go change your shirt immediately, and stay away from the VIP guests. Daniel simply nodded. As you wish. Without another word, he walked toward the service corridor, leaving behind a trail of whispered conversations. No one noticed the faint smile that crossed his face for the briefest moment, or the discreet vibration of the phone hidden in his pocket, signaling that something far more important than a stained uniform was about to unfold.